everyone. Welcome to today's National Public Health Week video. We're focusing on housing. There's increasing evidence that there's a relationship between housing and health. And we know that things like air quality, home safety, space per individual, the presence of mold are connected to negative health outcomes. But we also know that poor housing can be connected to chronic disease and poor mental health. So today we've been really lucky to be joined by Cydney Franklin. She's going to talk about the work she's doing here in Omaha around housing and social connections and community, this broader health and policies idea that we've been thinking about and talking about in some of our courses and in some of our readings. So without further ado, I want to introduce Cydney and allow her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about the history of the work that you've been doing.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Cydney Franklin. I am with 75 North Revitalization Corporation. I serve as our Chief Operating Officer. 75 North, we're a small nonprofit community development agency. We're located in the northeast quadrant of Omaha, Nebraska. We've been an agency for a little under 10 years. We were organized for the sole purpose of strengthening, revitalizing, and bringing really targeted investment to this one underserved, under-resourced neighborhood in North Omaha called Highlander. And so we bring that investment, that revitalization through a really strategic approach and an investment that combines a mixed income housing strategy, strengthening the education institutions in this neighborhood, and then also facilitating access to something that we call health and wellness amenities. So all the things that bring vibrancy, health to an individual and into a family. So that could be access to recreation, Wi-Fi, public spaces, healthy food access, access to actual health care, continuing education for adults, strengthen education systems for children, all of those things in one kind of boundaried neighborhood is our focus, and that's all we do.
You've mentioned in your description that it sounds like the work that you're doing touches a lot of the social determinants of health that we talk about in public health. How did you come to decide that this was the right model for North Omaha?
Yeah, so I'll kind of focus specifically on this one neighborhood in North Omaha called Highlander, which is our focus area, and kind of give you a little bit of history about Highlander and how we came to organize and to kind of bring you to where we are today. So Highlander historically has been the home of two public housing facilities in the city. One was called Pleasant View and the other was called Hilltop Homes. Hilltop Homes was demolished in about late 1990s, early 2000s, and Pleasant View Homes was demolished in roughly 2009, 2010. And the reason that they were demolished, like public housing facilities across the country, they were built in roughly the 30s, 40s, and had become sources of concentrated poverty in the city. So Highlander was troubled basically with all the things that are produced from concentrated poverty. So, kids aren't achieving the academic goals that we envision for our children. Adults aren't accessing the level of employment, like unemployment was a factor here. All those things that can take away vibrancy and health from a neighborhood when poverty is concentrated. So the Omaha Housing Authority made the wise decision to demolish those properties in those timelines that I'd given. And so roughly 25 acres of contiguous land sat vacant in a really centralized part of Omaha. So we're right along the corridor to get to Omaha's airport. We're about a mile and a half from our downtown area, less than a mile from Midtown Crossing, which for anyone that's familiar with Omaha knows that's a really vibrant, developing area in the urban part of our city. Yet this available 25 acres of developable land was not attractive to local for-profit developers or really anyone. And so during that 2010, 2011 timeframe, really forward-thinking local philanthropist saw an opportunity with that land and hired, who's now our president and CEO, his name's Othello Meadows, hired Othello at the time as a consultant to guide the acquisition of that land, knowing that there was a significant opportunity, a community development opportunity in that space. Highlander, though under-resourced historically, has lots of stakeholders, partners, really strong community leaders. So there was an opportunity there. So that land was purchased along with another roughly 20 acres of land, which has become the foundation of 75 North's revitalization of this neighborhood. That forward-thinking philanthropist is affiliated with a national model of community development called Purpose-Built Communities. For those that are familiar, it's based out of Atlanta. Purpose-Built Communities originated in a struggling East Atlanta neighborhood that is demographically similar to what Highlander was in terms of concentrated poverty, a lot of the stigma and disinvestment that existed there. The equivalent of 75 North in Atlanta was able to turn around that neighborhood using this purpose-built model, which in essence combines in one boundary geographically focused neighborhood investments in really high quality mixed income housing. So creating opportunities for housing for a diversity of income levels for individuals and families. Access to those health and wellness amenities that I mentioned previously. So again, access to recreation, cultural expression, and opportunities for that, public gathering spaces, green spaces, access to healthcare, healthy food options, and then finally strengthening the education systems in that neighborhood. Today, that East Atlanta neighborhood is one of the strongest, healthiest, most vibrant throughout Atlanta, with kids outperforming kids that are in schools that go to schools in neighborhoods that have much more wealth. Opportunities for job creation and entrepreneurship, grocery stores, retail options, all the things that make a community vibrant, they exist in that one neighborhood. We basically replicated that model here in Omaha, Nebraska, using the foundation that's been set with that land acquisition. So today, we've developed just over 100 units of mixed income housing. So the majority of our homes are subsidized for folks that that make under a certain percentage of the area median income. And the area median income, they're restricted with their income there. They qualify to live in our homes. They're remaining our market rate. All of our homes are built to a market rate standard. We have a really strong 5-year partnership with Omaha Public Schools to reconstitute and strengthen our neighborhood elementary school. And then we've also partnered with organizations like Creighton University, Metropolitan Community College, and other institutions to bring those health and wellness amenities to this neighborhood.
This is really excellent information. And for those Creighton students who don't live in the Omaha area, this community is just let's say a mile away from campus. Mm-hmm. So very close. So that's why we've been able to have a really positive, I hope, relationship with you all. So thinking about all of the work that's been done so far, what's your hope for the future? What do you see in the next 5 years for the 75 North community and the Highlander community in particular?
Yeah, so, I always say that we're probably most well known for the physical investments that we made in Highlander. I mentioned those 101 housing units. Mm-hmm. Right now we have under construction, an additional 60 units of mixed income housing for seniors, for folks that are 55 and older, that are adjacent to the housing that we've already constructed, that are adjacent to a really large community engagement center I didn't mention, called the Highlander Accelerator, where 75 North offices are located. Creighton University has a satellite campus just beneath our office. There's a technology lab in the Highlander Accelerator, a coffee shop, a rentable venue for weddings and repasses and art auctions, et cetera. A greenhouse, lots of green spaces. This is all kind of centralized in this Highlander neighborhood. And so we have another housing development coming under construction. So we'll have more folks moving into the neighborhood, which is exciting. And so we'll continue along that trajectory. Our strategic plan calls for just over 300 units of housing in total to be built in this neighborhood to re-densify and to continue to bring families that want to take advantage of all of the things that exist here today. So that's a really important piece. I think the other piece that's really important for us is to continue to strengthen over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years our partnership with Omaha Public Schools, because we know as we work to make this an attractive neighborhood for folks that have historically been here, that have grown up here, whose grandmothers still live here, that may have grown, maybe they grew up across the street and have left and they're interested in coming back, or maybe someone that is interested in moving to this neighborhood for the first time. We know that for families, especially young families, the education piece has to really be rock solid. If we're asking people to make a 30-year investment, let's say in a mortgage, to really plant roots in this neighborhood and buy a home, which we think is a goal for a lot of the families here. We know that the elementary school has to be solid. We know that the junior high has to be solid. And so that's in our 5, 10, 15-year plans, is to continue to strengthen our partnership with Omaha Public Schools, to use our influence, our connections, some of the resources that we've been able to garner to continue to make Howard Kennedy Elementary School, which is our neighborhood elementary school, its strongest. We've partnered with some local philanthropists and other nonprofits to help facilitate the development of an early learning center in our neighborhood, which is the early pipeline before Howard Kennedy. Babies 6 weeks to pre-K can get the foundation that they need so that they're going to kindergarten on track, behaviorally, socially, academically ready to learn. So for us, that's probably one of the least known things that we do, which is kind of unfortunate. People know us well for the physical developments that we've done, but that piece, that education piece, also that education piece that we're facilitating with Creighton, again with Metro, are also equally important. But over the next 5 years, that's probably something that we really want to continue to strengthen.
Wow, you've done a really excellent job at connecting with, like we said, the social determinants of health and all of the things that our students in public health study. So as our final thought, any hopeful thoughts or suggestions for folks who are living in these kinds of communities themselves in terms of things they can do, or advice for our students who might be interested in being engaged in these kinds of communities and doing this kind of good work, even on a smaller scale?
Yeah, so some of the things that I've learned working with you and working with, Creighton with social determinants of health are, we may use different, terms and lingo, but those social determinants of health are really at the core of the purpose-built model and the way that we have implemented that model here in Omaha, Nebraska, in the Highlander neighborhood. We know well that place, neighborhood, where you're from, your formative years are directly linked to these really important kind of life determinants, these social determinants of health. So, the access to the quality of your healthcare, access to healthcare, the quality of your life, how long you'll live, so the length of your life, the likelihood that you'll graduate from high school or go on to college, your prevalence toward poverty, all these really important social determinants are linked back to place, your neighborhood. And so it's our goal, as we work to break down these, kind of intergenerational cycles of poverty and disinvestment and a lack of resources. It's really important that we're strengthening for the children and the families here, their opportunity to access all of those just important things that we want in terms of a vibrant and healthy life. And so, we know that, at the core of it, our home is important. So a quality home, a safe home, is vital. But then also you have to take a step beyond that and look at the green spaces outside of your home, the quality of the sidewalks, access to all of the things that make life vibrant. This is the core of the work that 75 North has set out to do. And that's based on that purpose-built model. And so it sounds like a lot of what you're teaching is at the root of our work here. So in our work here, and then also just kind of like my personal messages is for individuals and families to determine and say aloud like the vision for not only their neighborhood, but maybe even down to their street. So, you know, what does a family want and need in terms of a healthy and vibrant environment for themselves and for their children and their families? And then maybe, you know, bring your neighbor along and see what their interests are, what their focus is. Take that vision and get with other community leaders, other advocates, organizations like 75 North, maybe that's your church. If there's an urban league in your community, a local health institution, realize that your voice matters and is impactful and it's meaningful. Take that and start to take little steps to make the change that you want to see. Determine what you want to see and what you don't want to see in your neighborhood. And again, maybe starting at that block level, starting to make those changes. People might be surprised the level of support and resources that will become available to them if they kind of get out and start voicing those concerns. We're always encouraging you know, families and parents to be active in their children's education and what's going on in their schools. There's so many resources I can't speak for other, you know, demographically similar neighborhoods throughout the city and throughout the country, but in Highlander, this really is today a well-resourced community. Lots of advocates, lots of people that have really come on board with the vision that exists. And
we are so grateful to you, Ms. Franklin, for talking to us. If folks want to follow your progress or see updates, where can they find you? Are you on social media? Is the Highlander on social media at least?
Yes, so folks can go to highlanderomaha.com to get some information about what's going on in the neighborhood, information about 75 North. We have our own website, 75north.org. It's all spelled out with no numbers or dashes. We have videos and other kind of narrative around our history and our origin story. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So it is really easy to find us and to see what we have going on and things that we have in the pipeline for the future. So please check us out.
Thank you so much. And students, if you want to think more about how you can be active around housing as regards to public health, make sure also to look at our links that we'll be providing throughout the week. There's a page on the National Public Health Week website that has some other ways that you can advocate, just like Cydney was saying. It has some resources for organizations and other groups of folks nationally that are doing this work, and it can help you find what's going on in your local community. So if you want to get started, there's definitely a place to start, and we've got some guidance to help you with that. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.